I'm so happy to have Dr. Bill Pettit here with us tonight. Bill is one of the world's leading international communicators of the understanding of the three principles and is also a psychiatrist. He met Sydney Banks in 1983 and I was mentored by him until Sid passed away in 2009. And a very warm welcome to all of you who is attending this webinar. This is organized by Tre Prinsippene, the Tre Principles Norway, and my name is Helga Holmberg. Tre Prinsippene is a non-profit organization whose mission is to spread the understanding of the three principles first discovered by Sydney Banks in 1973. We aim to be a Norwegian community for everyone interested in the three principles. And today's topic is Finding Stillness, Awakening to Love, Wisdom, Creativity, and Relationship Ease. And for now, I want to thank Kjetil Haugmo, who has arranged for this webinar to take place. Kjetil has known Bill for a very long time. So now I want to hand it over to you, Kjetil, to say some words and introduce Bill.
Thank you, Helga. So it's a double introduction today, Bill. So yeah, but thank you for sharing a little bit about today, Helga, and also for arranging this meeting. I'm just really grateful for that, and I'm so grateful that Bill is coming here today, but he's not only coming here today, he's also coming to Norway, actually in Horten in October. So I'm just really looking forward to seeing you live again, Bill, and everyone else who wants to join us in Horten for that weekend. And I'm just really looking forward to meeting all of you. And I just wanted to say, I'm just also really looking forward to today's conversation. Every conversation that I've had with you, Bill, has just touched my heart deeply. And now I've just been so lucky to have encountered you for so many times during the last, I don't know, 10 to 13 years or so, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just really grateful. I want to say also just a few more words. This understanding of the three principles has been the most impactful thing that I have learned or had insight into in all my life. And Bill and his lovely wife Linda has also been the two most impactful teachers of this understanding in my life, and meaning that you have been the most impactful teachers that I've ever come across. And I'm just really, really grateful for still having you in my life, Bill, and Linda also. And yeah, you just taught me so much about love and understanding. So welcome, Bill, and please, yeah, take it from here.
Thank you, Kjetil. What I would love to do, Helga, I don't know how hard this would be. I would love to see if there may be some people here who are in their head thinking, I hope he talks about. So I'm wondering if you could just see if maybe you could get 3, 4 things from people that they're hoping that we address this morning. Beyond the overarching thing of finding stillness has become more and more vital to me. I've seen that at a new level, that's where that access to that spiritual wisdom beyond the intellect just becomes easier and easier and more consistent. But could you see if there are a few questions either by chat or people raising their hand, so that I would have it'll do two things. It'll help me know that there's some things that people have on their mind that I'd like to address, but it'll also take that off the person's mind and help them to be more present because they know they've gotten their input in. So is that okay?
Yes, it's very, very, very good, Bill.
Okay.
So now you have this great opportunity to
And they
ask
can
Bill.
ask their question in Norwegian. It's fine. I won't be,
Yeah, yeah,
I
but
won't understand it, but I know you
yeah,
will.
but that's a good thing to say. So if you want to, you can ask in Norwegian, and I will translate it. So then it's even easier.
And we'll just make a kind of I'll make a note here of the
Yeah,
things, the questions. Yeah.
yeah. Is there something you have particularly on your mind for now? Mette has raised her hand. Mette?
Okay.
Yeah, I can speak English. What's on my mind right now is I'm struggling with wanting to have control of me, my feelings, and versus relaxing and just going with the flow. If you can speak a little bit to that, I'd be very happy.
And it's also one in a chat here, Linda, who says,
Thank you, Maddie.
yeah, sorry. One in the chat, how to have a less active mind. Yeah, I think we can all want to hear something about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I can say one thing from myself. I'm very into the relationship theme. You know that it's coming from me, but still sometimes I feel like the one I have relationships with, they have to be like this and this for me to be happy, even though I know it's my creation. So something about relationship and ease would be, and peace would be really great.
Okay.
Someone else? As I say, it's a great opportunity to, yeah, here is something from Katrine. How to trust wisdom. That's a great one. And now Elin has raised her hand.
But yeah, can the lady that how to trust wisdom can say a little bit more about that? Just a little bit more if she could, Katrina.
Ska se, Katrine. Do you want to talk? I unmute you.
I don't want to put her on the spot now, that's okay. I'll do my best.
Okay. And let's see, before Elin, I'll just say it was one more here. No, it was also Finding Stillness. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's
Okay.
and then we have Elin raising her hand.
Okay.
Yes,
Good morning.
hello.
Good evening, I guess, to you.
Good morning. Mine was also about wisdom. I would love to hear, Bill, what you have seen about distinguishing thoughts from thoughts, plain thoughts, and the wisdom that comes via thought, and how to distinguish those two. I would love to hear your take on that. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Yeah. Okay. Gee, that's the first time I've ever heard any of these questions.
Oh,
Now,
that's
if you
good.
think that's true, I've got some property that's presently underwater that I would be glad to talk to you about. No, I'm just kidding. That's an attempt at humor. Well, let me start. First of all, I'm excited. I have enjoyed my relationship with Jettel over the last whatever years, 10, 15 years, just incredibly. And it was wonderful seeing you in Norway. We had lunch together, about 4 years ago, I guess. And it was wonderful. So And I'm excited to be there the first weekend in October, I believe it is, that I'm scheduled to be there. So I'm going to start with the Finding Stillness, and I'm going to make sure that I kind of look after I make my initial remarks. And my hope would be, as an Irishman, I'm going to do my best to be about 20 to 25 minutes. Now, when an Irishman tells you 25 minutes, you can count on 30, probably, more likely. You know, I have a little plaque that says, you know you're Irish if you absolutely have no idea how to make a long story short. My wife, Linda, says I don't need any DNA testing, that she knows already that I am Irish. So, but I'm also Swedish, actually. I have 37% of my DNA comes from Sweden, and so I have some Scandinavian roots, and 37% from Ireland. As many of you know, I'll be 84 years old next month. I feel like I'm 84 going on 16 inside. I'm having trouble growing up, if that's an important thing to do. But I feel probably more alive in many ways than I've ever felt in my life. And I mean that. And it's because I feel more present in my life, you know. My first wife, Sue, we were married. We actually had an hiatus of 3 years where we were apart, but I guess we were always still married, even though legally we weren't. But some of you know that she wrote this book of poetry called Coming Home Poetry, and I'm touched by the introduction. She wrote over a weekend, and this wasn't planned, but for me to do this, but over a weekend in 1984, we adopted, after 7 years, we had adopted a little baby, a little girl at 2 weeks old, 2.5 weeks old. And then my wife, 6 months later, got pregnant with our son. And then 7 years went by, and we adopted another little girl who was half Puerto Rican and half Welsh. And she was beautiful as a baby, and at 41, she still is a beautiful person in many, all ways, has 4 beautiful children. But over that weekend, after we had gotten Maggie, I noticed, and some of you have probably heard this story. How many of you heard this story? Oh, okay. So I noticed there was a pile of papers getting higher and higher in our kitchen table in between the time she was feeding this little 3-week-old baby and changing its diapers and et cetera, and holding it. And I often held it. But I noticed there was this pile of papers. I think maybe on the second day, I might have been going too fast in my head. I'm sure none of you have ever, well, maybe some of you have gotten too fast in your head where you didn't notice things. Well, that was me. And I noticed on the second day that there was this pile of papers that was getting higher and higher on our kitchen table. And my wife wrote 65 pages of rhymed poetry in iambic pentameter, which they tell me is what Shakespeare wrote the sonnets in, over the weekend in December 1984. And I said to her, I looked through the papers and I saw this written on sheets of paper, and I said to Sue, I said, honey, what's going on here? And she said, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. And I said, what do you mean you don't know? She said, I'm not writing this. I'm not writing any of this. And I said, well, what do you mean? I mean, I'm pretty slow sometimes. I tell people, I've told Jettel, I'm a slow learner, but I make up for it that I'm a fast forgetter. That's supposed to be funny, but anyway, so I said to Sue, I said, what do you mean you're not writing this? And she said, Bill, I don't know what's coming out the end of my pencil until it takes form on the paper. It's coming, this is coming through me. And here's what she wrote as an introduction. How many people, I don't want to bore people, but is it okay if I read this introduction? Okay. Because I think it speaks to all of us, whether you're from Norway, from the United States, from Pakistan, from Iran, from Israel, it doesn't matter. China. Coming home is about coming back to myself and my own wisdom. It's about finding that peaceful place within, a place where I feel secure and full. Very short. I'm 1/3 of the way through here. Coming home was written as a celebration. It's a beautiful word, isn't it? Celebration. As I began to realize, those are beautiful words too. As I began to realize, I think it's important that we're gentle with ourselves on the journey. It's so easy to judge ourselves that we should be understanding more quickly, more and more quickly. Has anybody besides me ever had those thoughts and taken them seriously? Coming home was written as a celebration as I began to realize. You'll have to tell me when we break, Helga, what the Norwegian word for began is. As I began to realize that the only thing, only is one of those big words that only has 4 letters in English. Only. The only thing that takes me away from a peaceful life is traveling in my own thoughts. Wow. That isn't where I lived for 42 years. I woke up every morning fearing that somebody would say or do something or life would happen that would, quote, take me away from my peaceful life. What a strange idea that the only thing that takes me away from a peaceful life is traveling in my own thoughts. To come home, I only needed to understand what thought was, and I think as a power, and how I used it. Last few words. When I am home, and we all know that feeling, don't we? Do we know that feeling when we're home? Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't matter what color, what culture, it doesn't matter. People know when they're home. And they know when they're away from home. And one feels really, really nice. And the other one feels like I don't want to, I don't know Norwegian bad words, but I know that there is some. It feels like that. When I am home, the world is a wondrous place. That's another beautiful word in English. A wondrous place. I'll have to find out what Norwegian word means wondrous. Full of wonder. Full of wonder, huh? When I am home, the world is a wondrous place to all who have searched. Welcome home. Welcome home. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I'm going to do it if it's okay, unless I see a lot of, if you give me a lot of, if I see 5 of these, I won't do it. Will it? I'm going to read 3 8-line poems from this little book. I only see 3 of these, so no, I don't see any, so I'll go ahead. Coming home to peace and quiet. This is the title poem. Coming home to feelings warm. Coming home where there's a fullness. A fullness. Not very many needs when we have that feeling of fullness. Where love in me is born. Coming home's a simple journey. Really? Coming home's a simple journey. It takes no movement on my part. Instead of listening to my thoughts, I listen with my heart. Second one. Now, Gentle knows my story a little bit. He knows that as a child, I got spanked a lot, but I earned every spanking. I was born in 1942, and the treatment plan for oppositional defiant disorder in the late 1940s was wait till your father gets home. That was the treatment plan. And my father used to spank me pretty regularly, and he would tell me that it hurt him more than it hurt me, which I wondered, and I was tempted to ask him if he wanted to trade places, but I had enough common sense never to do that. I came to understand that he really meant that. That's for later in the talk. He really meant that. I think he came from a place and the beliefs, and I'm not, please don't, I'm going to share with you what my world looks like, what I've come to realize, not because anybody said anything, but because I've learned to get quiet enough to have realizations from within my own consciousness. And I think my parents believed in a judging and punishing God. And they even believed that there was a place where people were going to be tormented forever, which is, I've heard, is a really long time. And I think my father was trying to spank the devil out of me, because they believed in a devil too, which I don't. And so I understand that, and maybe that's too much information, but I came to love my father unconditionally, and it was a beautiful day for me. And it happened after I met Mr. Banks. Anyway, that's a long way of saying I can be mischievous at times, but I use my mischievousness from a place of love more and more. So this next poem, I often, when I'm reading to a client or to a person I'm mentoring or student, whatever, I say, please ignore this first line. She couldn't have meant what she said in that first line. And then I usually hesitate and I say, maybe she did. Maybe she meant exactly what she said. The name of the poem is Tension. It's only 8 lines. Helga, I want you to write these down. I want the Norwegian word for tension also, if you can give it to me later. Thoughts create all our bad feelings. Wow. What? What? She didn't really say that, did she? I would say conscious or unconscious, and we'll be glad to speak about that if people are interested. Thoughts create all our bad feelings. If we don't know of this fact, we begin to treat our feelings real, and to them we react. Now, I hope I'm not the only one that ever did that. Then soon, it's not the task at hand that's getting our attention. Instead, we wrestle with each thought, and that creates our tension. Wow. Could it be that simple? Could it be that simple? Mr. Banks often said, if the answer is simple, it's the spirit. If the answer is complicated, it's the intellect. The third poem goes straight to the spiritual, the formless. I love Viktor Frankl's book, The Doctor and the Soul. I take it most people know who Viktor Frankl was. He was a psychiatrist whose pregnant wife and was murdered by the German Nazis, and his parents, and I think both a brother and a sister. He was kept alive because he was a doctor, but treated very, very poorly, like all prisoners were. And when he was released from the death camp after 3.5 years, most of the traumatology people in the current level of understanding probably would have expected him to be dead within 30 months at least. Instead, he lived to be, I think, in his mid-90s, and he wrote 16 books. He knew something. Long before, when people talk about studying the three principles, I cringe a little. I cringe a little, even when I say it, because what we're studying for is what the three principles are pointing to. Sid said over and over, these are not a thing. They are not of this world. They are a metaphor for the spiritual, for the nature and the attributes of the spiritual energy behind life, what most people call God. He said, I was enveloped in a white light. It was then that I realized the true meaning of God, and I started to cry. Quiet is the name of this. The other one was Tension. This 8-line poem is quiet. Quiet, when I define it, means a total lack of sound. A moment without movement. A stillness all around. Quiet, when I feel it, has a different quality. It's a full and peaceful presence, permeating all of me. Another one of those big words, all of me. So the reason that I have titled my talks when I come across the Atlantic, Finding Stillness, there's a reason for that. And of course, I have a short story that I think I can make short that's related. I don't know if it will fall on deaf ears, but stick with me. I'll make it short. In the 1950s, there was a famous bank robber in the United States. His name was Willie Sutton. You can actually Wikipedia him if you want to. And Willie Sutton was very good at robbing banks, but he would eventually get caught and they'd put him in prison. But he was also very good at breaking out of prison, which he did 3 or 4 times. And then he'd start robbing banks again. But he eventually would get caught and he would be put back in prison. And I think after the 3rd time, some newspaper writer for a famous newspaper in one of the big cities got permission to interview him. And they asked Mr. Sutton a simple question. They said, why do you keep robbing banks? He said, because that's where they keep the money. Why does Bill Pettit, Jettel, I'd say your last name, but I'd mispronounce it, Jettel, Eckhart Tolle, Byron Katie, David Hawkins, why do these people talk about the power of being in the now, being present in your life rather than my late wife Linda said, people are one of two places their entire life. They're either in their head, in their thoughts, or they're in their life. If you watch children playing, it doesn't matter whether they're in Norway or in the Czech Republic or in the United States, or it doesn't matter. If you watch them playing, you may not understand their language, but you can tell that they are in their life. Now, are they thinking? Yes, they are thinking, but they're not in their thoughts. There is a difference. They're in their life. The reason it's kind of metaphorically like Willie Sutton, the reason people talk about the power of being in the present moment, in the stillness of now, is because that's where the gold is. That's where the gold is. That's where the joy is. That's where everything Sue talks about being home. That's where that is, the access to wisdom, the relationship ease. I don't think there's such a thing as a relationship problem. I mean, I know that sounds funny, but to me, relationship problems are two people who get insecure and they get caught up in their thinking and they innocently bring out the worst in each other. It's not a relationship problem. It's a state of mind problem. I will say the book, the Relationship Handbook, I don't know, has this been translated into Norwegian? I had over 100 teenager girls and boys tell me that this book was the best book they had ever read in their life. It's called the Relationship Handbook. The best book they had ever read in their entire life. Now, for teenage girls and boys to say that was amazing because every example in that book, except two, are married couples. But these young people saw that it was not about marriage, it was about relationships and something even deeper than relationships, understanding the system of life that allows us to have relationships. And I'll end on this statement, and maybe I'll take a quick look here. One of the things that the reason why I talk about the whole spirit, Viktor Frankl said, somebody asked him, can you be a physician and not deal with the spiritual aspect of being human? And I love Viktor Frankl's quote. He quoted somebody else. He said, absolutely, you can be a physician and not deal with the spiritual aspect of being human. But if you decide to do that, the only difference between you and a veterinarian is your clientele. That's true for me. If we don't understand the connection between our spiritual nature as being our true nature, that we are spiritual beings, that will be standing when this body and brain fall away, when my heart stops, I won't be in this body anymore. I have no doubt that I will still be conscious for eternity myself. And I have no fear of what's on the other side, because I really have come to realize for me that that what's behind life is unconditional, pure love, and that things don't happen to me in life, they happen for me. And often I've been a co-creator to help me. I love this statement: life may bring you challenges, but only because you have asked it to bring you challenges so that you can grow to maturely direct love in this world. Struggling with being in control of my feelings, to have a less active mind, to have relationship ease, how to trust wisdom, finding stillness, distinguishing wisdom from personal thinking. I'll make this, I think I can do this in 2 minutes. At least direct, and then I'll take questions. If we understand any system, whether it's gravity or electricity or life, if we understand any system sufficiently, it brings simplicity to apparent complexity. It brings safety. We're unlikely to hurt ourselves or others with that system. It brings efficient use. The Romans understood gravity so well that they transported via their aqueducts frequently water 300 and 400 miles, and sometimes even further from its source, because they understood gravity. And predictability. Simplicity, safety, efficient use, and predictability. If we don't understand the connection, if we do understand the connection between our spiritual nature and our psychological and physical natures, which is the understanding of spiritual truth that the three principles are pointing to as best as they can. And I'll end with Mr. Banks saying, there are an infinite number of doors of understanding these principles. An infinite number of doors of understanding these principles. The last time I looked in my math book, that's a really, really big number. And it's also allowed me to have compassion for myself. And I ask you to have compassion for yourself. That when you find yourself lost in your thinking, it's not that you haven't learned anything. It's that you're giving yourself an opportunity to see more than you've seen before. If you have the courage to get present in your life as best as you can, rather than trying to figure it out with your personal thinking. I'm sure none of you have ever done that, but I've tried to do it many times, and disaster has occurred every single time. Especially if I didn't put duct tape on my mouth and sit on my hands. I used to say a lot of things and do a lot of things that required a lot of cleaning up of a lot of messes. So I'm going to stop while I'm behind. We've at least still got 30 minutes, 32 minutes.
Yeah, we do. Thank you. Yes. So you opening up for questions, you think?
Yeah, the other thing, I want to say one more thing, Hilga. I would like you to consider today whatever I say as a metaphor for being a 9-year-old little girl or boy and walking into the doctor's office with walking pneumonia. I remember doing this as a 9-year-old, and the doctor examined me and looked at my sputum. He said, "You have walking pneumonia." I had a high temperature. And the nurse, he said, "Bare your shoulder or bare your hip." And the nurse gave me a shot of 80,000 units of penicillin G. And when I walked out of the doctor's office, I still had walking pneumonia, right? 96 hours later, I did not have walking pneumonia because the injection of the penicillin, the titer, I'm going to ask you to, even if it doesn't feel like it, that the best I can, I'm doing an injection of 80,000 units of penicillin G. And I'm going to ask you to, I'm going to suggest that you don't think about anything that I've said today. As much as you can, just be in your life, being as kind as you can. Try it for 4 days. Be as kind as yourself, to yourself as you can be. Be as kind to others as you can be. Apologize if you need to. Don't judge yourself for doing whatever you did that you apologize for. Be grateful that you've seen enough. And at the end of 96 hours, see if something's different than it was when you started today. That's just a request. It's not a should. There are no shoulds. It's not good to should on yourself. We've done that too much. Now we'll stop talking.
I think we all know that you're talking, so it's nothing to worry about. Yes. Is there someone here?
People also feel free to ask questions. It's okay.
You have questions or something you want to share with Bill, what you've heard, or
I can answer about wisdom. Mr. Banks says, and it's true for me, that wisdom always comes wrapped in a positive feeling. Always. It's never disruptive. I think he uses the metaphor, it always comes like the bleat of a lamb, never as the roar of a lion. It always comes wrapped in a positive feeling. So if along with the thought comes a beautiful feeling of wondrousness, of stillness, of joy, I trust that thought every single time. If it comes with a little bit of tinged righteousness or judgment of myself or others, that will lower the feeling 100% of the time, it has lost credibility with me. And that's been very incremental. I want you to know that over the last 42 years, I celebrated April Fool's Day was my 43rd anniversary that I met Sid. And every 6 months of my life in the last 43 years has been gentler than the 6 months before. It's incremental. I haven't had one of those. You might. I haven't had, after the initial awareness that, wait, could it be that life is inside out and not outside in? After that, it's been very incremental for me. It hasn't been huge. Knocked me off my chair. So I'll try again to be quiet, Hilda. But I wanted to answer that. And I've noticed also that as I just try to, if I want to have a quieter mind, I'll tell you one thing that has never worked is to try to use my speedy mind to quiet my mind. But if I do the best I can without judgment of how I'm doing, to be present in my life. At the beginning, I might need to do something. I might even ask my partner if they'd give me a back rub, or if I'm alone, I might take a bath, or I might take a walk, or I might pet an animal if I have it. Anything that allows me to get present. Eventually, I won't need those things, but it's okay. It's okay on our journey to need something as long as it doesn't harm ourselves or anyone else. To me. So anything that allows you to get present, your thinking will naturally and effortlessly go from fast and furious to calm and curious. Jettel, is My Guide Inside series, is that been translated into Norwegian? Do you know?
No, what do you call
No.
the book? I haven't heard about that book.
It's called My Guide Inside.
Is that the one your late wife wrote?
No.
Oh,
It's a series. It's a series written by a woman named Krista Kamsel.
no, it's not.
It's online. You can go online. My Guide Inside, MYGUIDE, My Guide Inside. And Krista Kamsel and Kathy Emerson Marshall, who was for many, maybe she still is, the director of the National Resilience Center in the United States. And she also taught doctorate level nurses at the University of Minnesota for many, many years. And they've put together two booklets, a student booklet and a teacher booklet for grades 1 through 4, grades 5 through 8, and grades 9 through 12. And I'm going to give you the first 4 lessons for first graders. I'd like us all to imagine that we are in first grade again. And the teacher comes in and she tells us that we're going to have a lot of fun in first grade. And here's the first 4 weeks lessons. First 4 weeks lessons. And I have 25 and a half years of formal education. And not one of these 4 lessons for first graders was taught to me in 25 and a half years of education. And if they had been taught to me or pointed out to me or shared with me, my life would have been incredibly more gentle and peaceful and joyful. And not only mine, but a whole lot of people around me, their lives would have been more gentle and more peaceful if I would have been exposed to these 4. Are you curious what they are? Number 1, this first week, children, by the way, I was in a Catholic school and a teacher, we had one nun for 89 children, first graders, and there was no assistant to her. And you did not move unless she wanted you to move. But anyway, that's another for another day. 89 first graders, can you imagine, with no assistant, right? Okay, so here's the first lesson for us first graders. You have a guide inside. You have a guide inside. God has placed a guide inside, and you can trust that guide. Always, you can trust that guide. Wow. Why would we think that the animals, the flowers, everything else that's alive on earth has a guide inside and that we wouldn't be given one? That's blanking crazy. Number 1, you have a guide inside. You can trust that guide. Number 2, your thoughts create all of your feelings. And we'll talk about, if you're interested, we'll talk about unconscious thoughts. Your thoughts create all of your feelings. Again, all, a big word. Really? I thought that bully, the way he was talking to me or the way he was sending me text on my Instagram or my TikTok or whatever. No. Only your thoughts can, and you giving attention to them. But All your feelings come from your thinking. It seems like that lady, Sue Pettit, said something like that in her poem. Number 3, happiness is inside of you. Wow. Is there anybody else besides myself that kept saying to myself, I'll be happy when? And then I'd get there and I'd say, oh, this is no, I'll be now, but I'll be happy. But then, and it keeps changing. And even if you get what you think will make you happy, now you're afraid that you might lose it. Desire is beautiful. It's not a bad thing to desire to see more and to have more, because the more you have, the more you can give away. And the more you see, the more you can help others. But if you attach your desire to your happiness, you've given away your soul to me. You've given away your power. Once you attach it to your happiness. Okay. So number 1, you have a guide inside. Number 2, your thoughts create all your feelings. Number 3, your happiness is inside of you. Number 4, if your thoughts are going fast and furious, if you do the best you can to be present in your life, effortlessly, your thoughts will become calm and curious. Effortlessly. All you have to do is do the best you can to get present in your life. Wow, that's for first graders. First graders. Those are the first 4 of 8 lessons for first graders. You have a question, Helga?
Well, no, it's not me. Mari has a question, but she didn't know how to raise her hand. So, Mari, do
I
you
can
want
do
to?
it like this.
Yes, you can.
But
Absolutely.
not in
Welcome.
the not with the symbols. Yeah. No, this this was really talking to me now, this last subject. I was this guide inside, and yeah, and this racing thoughts and effortless. What was that last point? Effortless. Yeah. I've been I met these principles in 2018. It's quite a long time ago, but and it really helped this understanding of the thoughts, and that I don't really need to believe all my thinking, and I don't need to kind of care about it so much. And so this understanding, it made me that, okay, I didn't have any more like anxiety or depression. Okay, I can be scared or sad or low mood, but it goes up and down, and I'm like just following. And these emotions, I have very strong emotions, and they just they just come upon me, and then that's okay. But what I still struggle with is this racing thoughts. So that was really nice. I have been thinking about that for some time to ask. So this was really good opportunity. I remember I was in a holiday with my husband, and we sat on the terrace. We had a drink in the evening, and we were talking about my mind and a little bit my problems. And then I asked him, how many thoughts do you have now? And he said, yeah, 2. And then I said, okay, but I have like 200. And then that's how I'm experiencing the world. I'm thinking always
everything. Take in visually, like I think about all the stuff in the room. I think about the weather outside. I think about everything that has been said in this conversation. I think about these clothes, what you are wearing, and same time I'm thinking about my thinking about what has been said and how to navigate with this 200 thoughts. And what is this wisdom? I think it was really nice when you pointed out several. I'm gonna listen to this again. Yeah. But for me, it comes very many, this like impulse, and maybe I believe in them. I start to realize that it's maybe not that wisdom. For example, I want to have a dog. It can come. And then there is a lot of nice feelings connected to that. I want to have a dog. And I get the dog, and maybe it was very hard work and didn't go so well. And this impulse to get the dog, was that wisdom, or was it just like an impulse that I followed in that moment? And maybe if I had better connection with my wisdom, I probably would have understood it was too much for me. Well, I'm happy with the dog, but it was maybe not necessary to follow that impulse. I don't know really what is my question. It's just how to navigate with this mind that makes all the time. Yeah.
Gentle is the missing link translated into. Have you read, Mari? Have you read The Missing Link?
Yeah, I think so. I read anyway several books of Sid Banks in the start. Yeah, I have that.
Do you have a copy of it?
Yeah. I should find it.
Well, there's actually a free course on my website. It's called The Missing Link for Veterans. But it's really, I've been told by many people, it's for any human being who gets lost in their thinking at times. You don't have to be a veteran. So many people are carrying a burden from the past that they haven't come to peace with. Either a judgment of themselves or others, or just a really busy mind. Because I think we can harm ourselves with this power of thought in two different ways. One is the content of our thinking. If we give content, if we give attention to a lot of negative thinking, it's going to, I was doing it. That's why I went in and out of depression for 20 years before I met Mr. Banks. I had seen 6 different psychiatrists. And I thought the reason that I was going in and out of depression, even though I'd be successfully gone through medical school, I had become the national program director for a large company that did trainings throughout adult trainings throughout the United States. I thought that my depressions were caused by things external to me. I thought they were caused by the fact that I had depression history on both sides of my father and mother. I thought they were connected to the fact that I had alcoholism on both sides of my family. I thought that because I was a psychiatrist dealing with people every day who were struggling with whether or not to commit suicide, I thought it was from my wife who saw things differently than I did. I thought it was from the burden of my 4 children. I thought it was from my financials. I thought it was from my health. And suddenly, within 30 minutes of sitting in the presence of Mr. Banks, I had almost 300 pounds of pressure leave my chest. And I knew that my days of constantly going in and out of clinical depression had just ended. I had one more bout 12 years later, which I can talk about, and I was ready to learn something new. What I saw in that moment, metaphorically, was that the cause of my depression, going in and out of depression for 20 years, was what I was doing with this beautiful, powerful gift of divine thought that has created the galaxies and the billions of stars, was gifted to me as a human being, a manifestation of this divine energy to navigate through this temporarily second home called life. And that 6 to 9 hours a day, I was activating the stress response in my body that was meant to be activated up to 30 minutes every 24 hours so that my ancestors could stun a saber-toothed tiger with nothing but a wooden club, or so that I might save a child that was running into the street after a ball and going to be hit by a bus, that I might suddenly be able to go faster than I normally could and tackle them before they got to the street. But that I was 6 to 9 hours a day activating that system instead of 30 minutes a day through worry, metaphorically slamming my fist into my head, worry, what ifs, getting caught up in the what ifs, what if. They reproduce faster than any rabbits in the world. Guilt, beating myself up for mistakes I made that I hadn't forgiven myself for. Anger at people that had said and done things to me that I hadn't forgiven them for. Upset when things are not the way Bill Pettit wants them to be. Overanalyzing to the point of confusion and mood lowering. Unresolved grief, not accepting life on life's terms, that it's a temporary second home, it's not a permanent home. Being driven to prove myself, acting frequently out of fear, thinking fearful thoughts and giving them life. Bruce Lipton, the man that wrote The Biology of Belief as a microbiologist, he said the following thing, and I paraphrase it. He said, all 50 trillion cells in our body eavesdrop on every thought that we give life to and respond. All 50 trillion cells in our body. My mind, your mind is fine. Your mind is the spiritual, your connection to universal mind, to what I'll call God. If you don't like God, use whatever word you want. Curly Mo, Larry, I don't care myself. There's something behind life. Everything that's you and I see wherever we are is made of atoms that have electrons going 3/4 the speed of light around every atom. Something is doing that. If you want to call that Herb or Jack instead of God, that's fine. We are a manifestation of that energy. Our mind, no one has ever died alone, not even during COVID. I lost my sister during COVID, one of my 3 sisters that are I've lost all 3 of my sisters, and the 3 boys are still alive. Not supposed to happen. No one can die alone because we are never alone. Universal mind is at the core. We are a manifestation, and universal mind is Sid said over and over, is with you always. There are not two minds. There's two ways of using the same mind. There's only the mind of God, or the universal mind. That's all there is. He said some people think the inside is God and the outside is the body. And he said, I guarantee you they are both the same thing in a different disguise. If you don't see in the singular, you're going to suffer. It's just the way it is. You may not think that's fair. It's trying to point you to summon you to stillness, not to believe a certain thing, but just to be still and listen. As Sid often said in his first words from the Long Beach lectures, he said, "Please do not believe anything that I say, because I say it. If you do that, you've given away your freedom of thought. Don't do that ever to anybody. Listen, that's different. Listen, and then listen quietly with an open heart, and listen to the spiritual wisdom that God has placed within your consciousness, every human being's consciousness. I had a man from a certain country in Europe, we'll call him Joe from France. When I read this to him, he'd been in depression for 55 years. And when I read this to him, he said the following. This is on page 7. The divine passes from the formless to the form, and as human beings, we are both spectators and participants in this spiritual theater called life. The great mystics of the world who tried to explain such knowledge had no choice but to speak in metaphors. The three principles are a metaphor, knowing that their words were only a representation of the spiritual wisdom that lies within the consciousness of all human beings. And this man who had been depressed for over 50 years, he said, "Doctor, I don't think that I have that spiritual wisdom. I don't think I was given that." And my mischievousness took over. And I said the following. I said, "Oh, John, my gosh, there's an asterisk here in my book. I've read this book over 100 times. I've never seen the asterisk before." He said, "Well, what does the asterisk say?" I said, "Well, the asterisk says everyone in the world has and always has had this spiritual wisdom within their consciousness, except for John from France. He doesn't have it." And he started laughing. And I said, "John, I've got bad news for you. You don't get to be special. You don't get to be the only person that doesn't have this." I hope that's helpful. I don't care what kind of thoughts I have, Mary. I don't care how fast they come, because that's not me. It's my brain. It's a computer. It's merely a computer. My mind is spiritual. It's supposed to be in charge of my brain. I have sometimes, if I don't get enough rest, the quality of my thinking dissolves into immoral, illegal, violent, you name it. I don't care. But when I have those kinds of thoughts coming into my head, I get tickled. And I also go to stillness. And in stillness, what I hear is, "Bill, you're not taking care of yourself. You're trying to do too much. You're not staying in rested well-being." When I was in Scandinavia 4 years ago and I talked about rested well-being, it had come to me. Everywhere I went, I saw 3 or 4 people with tears streaming down both their cheeks. And many of them had been around the principles for years, but they hadn't seen that rested well-being. They hadn't, like me, they hadn't respected rested well-being. They've been still battling. They knew about their thoughts created their feelings, but they really hadn't realized the spiritual wisdom within their consciousness. And knowing that every time their feeling level left loving and lighthearted feeling, that it was time to go to stillness. It was not time to try to figure it out. And I'll end, and I'm fine on going over a few minutes if it's okay. If it isn't, I'll stop. But so this last course that I did was a 54-hour program over 9 months. And Jettel, I think I haven't sent that one to you, but I will if you want it. But I did a 54-hour course over 9 months. And the first hour of that, I went through all 6 of Sid's books. The second hour, I went through the DSM-5, 8 categories from a perspective of the 3 principles. But in that course, I had 28 people from 12 different nations. And I had 3 beautiful women in hijabs from around the world. They were Muslim. And this one lady that was Muslim, I think she was in Australia, she said she was just on the last day I just took sharing. And she said, "Doctor, I want you to know that you get quoted. I'm a teacher also. I teach young children in school." And she said, "I quote you. And last week I started to get kind of serious with my children. And one of the children raised their hands. This little boy raised his hand, and I acknowledged him. He said, Miss, whatever her name was, he said, remember what Dr. Pettit says, if we haven't had a hearty laugh by noon, we're taking life way too seriously." And she laughed and said, "Thank you, Joey. Thank you for reminding me." Anyway, it's easy to take life too seriously. Mr. Banks says, wisdom says seriousness and discomfort, which I thought was equal to being a responsible human being. Seriousness and discomfort is to mental illness as damp and dark is to fungus. It makes it grow. On the other hand, love and lightheartedness is to mental illness as sunlight and dry is to fungus. It eradicates it. I'd like to take Linda's, I hope that's helpful, Mari. Just take it in as an injection, okay? Does it at least feel like there's some truth there?
Yeah, should I answer? Oh, I don't like to talk too much. No, but yeah, of course I have heard all this before, but it's always something new. And yeah, when you talked now, I realized that I have forgot to listen.
Yeah.
What I really actually want or what I actually love in my life. Yeah.
Good. Can we let Linda ask her question, Helga? Is that okay, Jello? Okay. Can you unmute Linda? And can you
You have to
yourself?
yeah, I can unmute you, I think. Ask to unmute. You have to unmute yourself.
There you go.
Yeah, I think that you have already answered my question. I wondered, because you seemed like a person who have a lot to contribute. So I want to ask you if you still give courses on Zoom for groups.
You know, I don't right now. I just finished one, but I will be in the future. Right now. I'm preparing, for my transatlantic journey and at least 9 programs across the ocean. So, but you can go to my website, Linda. There's a lot of free material there. There's a woman named Elizabeth Lovius from England that contacted me in 2015, and she asked me if she could interview me. And so there's literally 16 hours of free material on my website and on my well, there's much more than that. There's God knows free, but there's 16 hours of interviews with Elizabeth. The first one is One Cause, One Cure. Never broken, nothing lacking. There's only one cause of all mental illness. It's a lack of understanding of the system that causes us to innocently misuse this divine gift of thought that we've been given. And then there's stories of hope of every major category, stories of hope, anxiety disorders, stories of hope, depressive disorders, stories of hope, bipolar disorders, stories of hope, schizophrenia and psychotic disorders, stories of hope, addiction disorders, stories of hope, post-traumatic stress disorders, stories of hope, personality disorders, you name it. And there's stories from 40 years. I have literally witnessed miracles for the last 42 years. And I think I did give you that, didn't I, Jedel? The witnessing miracles. And you are welcome to share that whole package with anybody that wants that. And the more, if we can just relieve a little bit of the suffering in the world, there will be peace in the world the day that there's more people at peace. That's the day that we'll have peace in the world. So, Linda, I have answered your question?
Yes, thank you. Thanks a lot.
So if Jedel had any last words too, I want to.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I have noted many of the references that you have told today, Bill. So I will try to make it in the description, like the Norwegian's book for missing link, the relationship handbook, the authors, and also the links that I can find from what you have.
This one too, I think people will love this.
Yeah, I said Tre Prinsippene and it was coming home. Yeah.
Yes, coming
I
home
will see if
poetry.
it is in Danish. It might be.
It's Amazon. I don't know that it's been translated. Yeah.
No. So that would be great. Yeah, Kjetil, do you have something to add?
Well, I just want to say again, thank you so much, Bill, for what you've been sharing, and I've heard you so many times, and a lot of what you've shared before, but it still touches me so deeply, you know, and I get tickled. I think you're so funny, and it's just something new to hear every time. So I'm just really grateful for being here with you and everyone else here again today. Thank you for the opportunity, Helga. And I can't wait to see you in Horton and everyone else who wants to come. I'll share something about, you know, it's actually open to sign up for that seminar. I'm putting out something tomorrow for those who are wondering. So yeah, so I'm just really grateful and excited to meet you and everyone else next time. So thank you.
And thank you all for coming today. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bill. It's been really great. Yeah. Okay, so we'll see you around, and goodbye for now.
Can we unmute people so they
if you want to
can
say
they
goodbye?
unmute so they could say goodbye?
Yeah. Unmute yourself and say bye.
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 Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Okay. Take care. Have a wonderful evening, and I hope you all sleep well tonight.
You will.